Okay, and it's your job to keep him honest. If he talks about stuff that small businesses can't use.
I think you can grade small businesses. You've got the very, very small companies, owner managed, etc., etc. They've got Soho kind of small business, home business kind of challenges of their own, and that's not really going to be. That's more about individual productivity and institutional productivity. They're the same thing.
Yeah.
So the conflict exists, but it's the same.
If 5 people work hard, you get 5 times as much work.
Exactly, that sort of stuff. The companies that start to hit the problems are where there's a board of directors and you've got some IT over here and you've got a bunch of people doing stuff over here, and the business has been running 10, 15, 20 years, and everyone does stuff the way they used to do it, but it's not necessarily the best way anymore. But every time you try and change it, it tends to be adding layer on layer on layer of new stuff that has to kind of work alongside the old stuff. So this is very much about resolving that, and actually how can we kind of just do this once, get the stuff to work in a way that's going to work across the organisation. And it's back to talking business process terms, between the difference between having a functional hierarchy or a process hierarchy. So rather than having sort of sales over here, customer service over here, whatever over here, IT actually offers the opportunity to think of things across. I pass something from sales to customer service does something with it. Very small organisations are doing that stuff in inefficient ways right now. So yeah, it's absolutely for smaller companies.
Well, it's a big ask. Let's see if you can pull it off.
Let's see what we can do. Before we do, let's rattle through a few of these things, because we're kind of not jumping ahead of ourselves, because this is all important stuff. But here's some pictures that many may recognise in terms of what's traditionally happened in the past. And I think IT, frankly, has done a pretty good job of saying, hey, we've got data, we've got application, we can create new things, and we're in this innovation wave. So I wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't think IT was serving some kind of useful purpose. But the downside is it's all moving so fast, and to be fair or unfair to vendors, every time anything new comes out, they say, oh, it's going to be fantastic, this is what you need. It's going to solve all your problems forever. Or that's the hanging kind of statement, the forever bit. And so people start doing something new, and they'll build it, and businesses look at it and think, yep, this is going to be fantastic because it'll help us control our staff better. And so we'll put it in place. And then, of course, the world moves on. You need one simple merger, or 2 companies coming together, or one simple change of premises, or whatever, and the whole thing falls apart, and you've got to start again. Only you can't, because you're stuck with it. So we end up with these. I mean, I've picked 4 pictures at random here, and if I go from the top left, that's a kind of collaboration picture. Top right's a kind of service-oriented architecture kind of picture of all these very complex and very kind of clever people are working on these things all the time, bringing together views and modelling and working out how these things can all hang together. But they haven't really done it in a way that it's coherent across the whole organisation and useful for the next initiative. So we end up with initiative after initiative after initiative. Bottom right, we've got process-oriented, process management kind of view of the world. And bottom left, we've got the... I hope everyone's looking at the same direction. Yes, of course they are. We did this last time, didn't we? Bottom left, we've got the unified communications view of the world. So lots of very clever stuff happening. What's missing, perhaps, is the single view in the middle that says, OK, we've worked out what the business is doing. We've worked out how people are trying to work together. And now, how can we feed that information out into all our initiatives?
OK. You used to draw these, didn't you, for a job?
I did used to draw it when I had a real job, as I like to say.
Welcome back to the light side, yeah.
Absolutely. And the downside is that while these things are done with best intentions, as long as they're sort of being done as an initiative and then another initiative and so on, they're not solving some of the fundamental problems of how the business actually works. So how I collaborate with you, how we work together. And there's some very basic facts that I'm sure a lot of people know that around, for example, if I do a job, it will take X time. If I do a job and then I need to give it to someone else to do a bit of it and then it comes back to me to do the last bit, it'll take kind of X squared time kind of stuff. The handoffs are always going to be expensive. And when you've got different hands-offs between different systems as well, and we've got this horrible thing that still exists in many organisations, large and small, called rekeying, where you take stuff out of your customer management system and then you type it into your service management system, and that requires a person to do this.
And there's some of the practical situations where that's not only just undesirable and inefficient, it's actually dangerous in terms of if you're talking around the ability to audit and be data accurate across that type of process. If you can't show the auditors that that's what you've been able to accomplish and control the process end to end, then there's real risks in terms of your business model moving forward. It's not just about efficiency and productivity, it's about keeping the lights on in some sense. So, I mean, that whole relationship about how you interconnect and how you collaborate across that process view across lines of business is vitally important, if not critically, as a success factor for the business moving forward.
Who's got an influence on this, though? A lot of the people watching this will maybe thinking, I'm on the receiving end of this. This is a thing that happens to me, but there's nothing I can do today to fix this. Yeah. Are we just talking to the CIOs out there?
Well, no. I think first of all, we should say. I mean, certainly, like I think we were talking about before, there's no panacea. So, as we said before, in IT, we're as guilty as anybody. And actually, the next wave of technology being the answer to all our prayers. Well, it's never that real. That's not the way in the real world. It's an inheritance thing. So, service orientation and governance of business process is part of the answer. It's not the only part of the answer. I think the bridge between the CIO, or the IT departments being the victims of this kind of, problem, is to say, look, let's find a way to communicate which is more valuable to the business between IT. So we've got a common vocabulary, and services orientation and that view of the business is a little bit of more of a natural language fit that we find is more readily consumable by both the business community as well as the IT community, and that's what we hope, and that's a lot of the focus that we have in enabling businesses is from that kind of direction.
Okay.
There you go. It's all good stuff.
Next slide.
It's hot. Okay, so I'm not going to bang on about what's on this slide. The problem is we keep trying stuff. We're not necessarily solving it. We're just carrying on, and we've got these continually fragmented systems. But really, what we are seeing from our research is that generally what happens when we fall into one of these troughs of financial despair, we had one about 8 years ago, we've got one now with the credit crunch, etc., etc. They do offer an opportunity for organisations to go, are we doing everything right? Let's stop and think and get a bit better organised, and maybe a little bit of evangelism there. It's a good moment, do it.
Now we're in what Gary might think is the Heartbreak Hotel.
It's good. Oh, it's now or never, in fact, in terms of making change and taking this moment in time. But yeah, we can go on with that analogy all day long. I'll be very happy.
Let's not.
I'm trying to think of a Radiohead lyric.
Don't. This is your slide.
Okay, so this comes from some research we did earlier in the year, where we asked organisations, what are they trying to, what's the best order to solve things? And the answer came, this sort of works in a clock, so the answer said, first thing you've got to do really is sort yourself out, get your IT, so we asked IT people, maybe the salespeople would have said something different. First thing, get a good car, but from an IT perspective, it was very much get IT sorted out, get it providing a decent set of platform infrastructure services supporting what the business is trying to do today. And from there you can kind of move around the clock and start to optimize the way IT is actually delivered. You can start to make service improvements, you can start to add new services, etc., etc. And that's starting to then enable you to have a business discussion. You can't just walk into the other side of the house and say, we're all business people now, we're going to sort you out. It's got to be, we're IT people, we're very good at this, and we know what we're doing. You know that we know what we're doing. You trust us. Now, how can we make your lives better? How can we make you more productive? And then from there, the ultimate goal is absolutely helping the business drive its service delivery itself.